Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of Real Talk Radio. And what we are doing right now is a Real Talk interview. Yes, that's right, a Real Talk interview where we let you give us the real talk. Tonight, we are interviewing a special friend of ours. Her name is Rok Abiel, and she is working on this really cool project called Galaktika Gamble. And it's a pretty sweet thing, and I guarantee you guys will absolutely love the project. It's going to be, you can look at the stuff on Facebook and everything. But what I want to say right now is, welcome to the podcast, Rok.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I usually like to start everything out by just asking, how has your week been going?
Well, it's been going all right. How's your week been going?
It's been going good. But Rok, what I want to open up with this evening is my very first question, and then we'll get to a question that Casey has. But my first question is, what's this project that you're working on right now? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a visual novel, and it's, how do I put it? It's about a young man named Neil Down. Yes, his name is a pun. His name is Neil Down, and deadly situations have followed him his whole life. And, well, after all these years of this happening, the first chapter starts off with him getting fired from a job for safety reasons. And then he ends up making a wish on a star by accident and summoning a stellar goddess that is there to help him figure out his wish and all that stuff.
Sounds like a pretty interesting story to me. Now, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. What sort of gave you the idea to make the story go as it is?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, well, what I'm saying is, what kind of gave you the idea to write that story, like how it is?
Well, it actually started with, I guess the very, very beginning of the concept for it started when I was still in middle school, actually. I went on a camping trip, and some campers nearby were having a star party. I don't know if you know what those are, but it's like where a bunch of people get together and they bring telescopes and they look at the stars.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, yeah. And so these people were having this star party, and I just happened to be nearby, and they had asked if I wanted to look in their telescope. And so I thought, okay, well, that sounds cool. And, well, I looked in the telescope, and they were telling me the names of all these stars and stuff, and I thought, these are some really cool names. I would love to write something that has to do with stars so I can use these names. But not only that, it was just really cool to look at in general because, I don't know, there's just something different between looking at a picture of stars and actually looking at stars through a telescope. Like, if you've never looked at stars through a telescope, you should, because it's a lot different. It's cooler that way. So that's how that originally started. And I've spent many years kind of putting it together, I guess you could say.
For some reason, when you say Star Party, the only thing I can think, like I can picture in my head right now, is the Star Party like on like Mario Kart or something like that, where you get like the star, and like you're on like Rainbow Road and everything like that, and you're just like, oh yeah, Star Party. That's for some reason. That's the only thing I'm thinking about right now when you say that. I just wanted to make that comment, but. That's pretty cool. So my question for you is, what inspired you to start doing the project?
The project in general, or the project as a visual novel? Because there's a few different inspirations, I guess.
You know what? Since we went general this route, I want to go with the visual because I think it's really interesting how you're putting this as a visual novel. So.
Okay, so I originally thought about doing it as a comic, but then I couldn't figure out what kind of ending I wanted. And so I looked into it more and I thought about it, and visual novels, you can often have multiple different endings. And I really liked the thought of that. So that's kind of why I decided to go down that route. Not only that, but with visual novels, you can have voice actors, you can have music, um, there's the different background images and the different sprites, and there's just a lot of things that go into it that you can't really put in with a comic or other forms of media like that. So,
Okay, wow. That's actually pretty interesting. Wow.
And so my next question for you is, I know you've been working on this project for quite a while now, but I just want to ask how has working on the project been so far?
there's been ups and downs. It kind of depends on one, just kind of how life has been in general. Sometimes I'm able to work more than other times, but for the most part, it's been pretty decent. There's been times where I can be coding something and it goes smoothly. Then there's times I'll try to code something in and it just doesn't work for whatever reason, and it can take me like 2 weeks to figure it out. So it just kind of depends on what I'm working on specifically, and a lot of it I do on my own, so that also takes up a lot of my time. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of work.
Well, I know that we were talking one time, and that like one of the issues that we were talking about was just people kind of like flaking in and flaking out, like coming in and
Ah,
coming
yeah.
out and everything like that. And to be honest, Jake,
Yep.
like I think whoever is listening to this should contact us if they want to be, if they want to do like a voice in this project, right? Because aren't you getting like voice, like practically anyone's voice, Cheyenne?
Well, I would like a people that have at least a decent quality mic, just
Okay,
because sometimes you can
Yeah.
hear that in the background and it doesn't
right.
fit with the other voices,
Mhm.
so that it sounds
Okay,
kind of weird. But for the
yeah.
most part, any voice is kind of good for me. I mean, as long as they can portray some kind of emotion, I can use them either as a background character or, there's other characters that don't have voices yet. So, yeah.
Okay, so whoever is listening to this on Real Talk Radio or Spreaker or After Hour Comedy Network, you heard it. You just have to contact us, and we will contact her, and all that stuff. Because I know I have some small part in it, which I mean, like I love it. So, but anyways, so my question for you is, could you tell us about some of the characters? Like, what gave you the ideas for these characters?
Well, depending on the character, the answer can be kind of different.
Okay.
Um, for a lot of characters, though, in a way, they're kind of based off of people I know, but not completely. Like, I'll take aspects of certain people and put them into one character and kind of make it their own little, person, I guess. But then there's some, like, for example, Neil, okay, he has long brown hair. I used to know someone that actually grew out their hair real long, and in a way, I had the hardest time figuring out what kind of hairstyle I wanted to give Neil. And Neil's the main character, but I had the hardest time trying to figure out what kind of Neil or kind of hair I wanted to give Neil. And after a while, I just kind of said, "Well, I'm gonna try this," and it looked good, and the long brown hair. And even though he looked kind of feminine, it just fit him. But it kind of was inspired by an old friend I had who had grown out his hair, and his hair was long and brown, and so it just kind of, different little bits of different people I know end up, in every character.
Hey, I mean, like that's
So,
pretty. I mean, like that's pretty unique itself, because, like so to say, like, oh my gosh, this I based this character off of this friend, and then this friend, and that friend.
yeah, it's like Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I will say one of the worst things that have happened is like when I used to make things back when I was in like middle school and high school, I used to try to make comics and stuff. And one of the biggest questions I always had with people I knew is they'd be like, "Hey, can you make me a character?" And that's like the worst question to ask. It really is because then it's like, well, okay. Then everyone starts asking because if you make someone a character, then everyone's gonna want a character.
Yeah, it's
And
like a
you,
chain.
Yeah,
you
like
want
people
it
are
to
gonna
be
be lining
fair.
up for miles.
Right, it's
Yeah,
like a chain
you want it to
reaction
be
to
fair,
things.
but you can't make it fair. So then over time, you end up with all these characters that you don't know what to do with because one, you don't even have a real plot for them, and you don't have a way to fit them into the story. But two, it's like you don't even know if you're going to be writing them correctly because who knows? Maybe your friend wants their character to be happy-go-lucky, and then you end up making them not so happy-go-lucky, and then they're angry. Then you have to worry about making everyone angry. So it's easier to secretly kind of take things that you notice from your friends and make that as like a little bit of a personality thing in a character, but not actually base it directly. So, and most of the
Yeah,
time when a character does have like some kind of quality that a friend of mine has, I don't let that friend know. Like I keep it secret.
Well,
So
yeah, and
then they don't ask.
I completely understand because it's just like, well, so to say, like when we did introvert reality with me and Jake and everything like that, like there are some things that I was just like, well, this is definitely Jake because Jake is like cocky son of a bitch.
uh, yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'm
I,
joking. I'm joking. But I mean, no, like it's really cool though, because I've seen some of the character sketches. Like if you guys follow the Galactica Gamble Facebook page, like you can see all these characters and everything like that, and it just looks so cool. So
I hope so.
no, I mean like no, it looks cool to me. I mean to me it does.
I know like some people have commented that the art is a little different. I'm not really sure what that means, but
Well, this
I mean, it's gonna look different. Everyone has their own different art style and everything. They should expect it to look. That's
well,
what
it's
makes
just
that's what makes art unique is all the different stuff that people have.
yeah. It's just like I can relate to that as a musician, like
Right.
I play different stuff. And then I look like I don't play that stuff, but then it's just like, well, I do. So F you. So um
But I like how you mention how you take all these characteristics and things from different friends and whatever. And this kind of leads me into my next question. And that question would be, what are some of the special things, such as traits, personalities, emotions, that each of these characters possess?
okay, well, I actually have a list of this stuff that it's easier for me to read than to just mention it off the top of my head. I'm
That's
one of
fine.
those speakers that need to think about what I'm saying before I say it, and then it's all weird and just because I don't talk to a lot of people very often. That's what you get when you work on projects for pretty much the entire time you're awake. But I guess I'll start with Neil because he's the main character. Um, so traits like personality wise, is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know the Myers-Briggs personality test thing? The 16 different personality
Yes.
types?
Yes.
I have my characters typed. I actually took tests for all my characters to figure out what type they were. Like I put myself in the character's mindset, took the test, and it was a lot of test taking and it was tiring. But Neil, he would be an ISFP and he's a turbulent type, not an assertive. He cares about others quite a lot. He's very sincere with what he's saying. So if he says something nice to you, he's definitely sincere about it. Like, he doesn't say nice things just to be nice. That's not him. He can be playful with his friends sometimes, but it depends on how close he is to that person. He has good intentions, but they don't always end up very good. Some of his negative traits would be that he's very easily angered. Like, he could take anything and get angry at it, probably. He's a very pessimistic thinker, which is actually very negative in his case, because some of the battles he has to do later, they get pretty intense, and if he's not thinking positively about it, well, you know. He's actually really lazy. He sleeps all the time. Like, he wants to sleep, and he doesn't like it when people interrupt his sleep. But
Sounds like me.
yeah, he hates being interrupted in his sleep, being woken up, things like that. And that actually becomes a challenge for him later because he has to get over that as well. He ends up having to wake up at 3 a.m. every single morning, and yeah, he does not like that, but he has to get over it because sometimes with life you just gotta suck it up.
Aw, poor guy. Poor Neil.
Yeah.
Don't you just feel sorry for him?
He can be outwardly aggressive sometimes, which is also not very good because, just don't act on your anger. If there's anything about this character that I wouldn't want people to pick up, it's his negative traits. Like, don't be abusive to other people. I wouldn't say he's full on abusive, but there are times where it's kind of questionable. So just don't pick up that trait.
Why did why did you flip the pancake?
You're supposed to flip the pancake. Don't you know that? You're supposed to flip it like this, not like this, you lunatic.
It was his hat, Mr. Krabs.
He was number one.
Oh.
Yeah, he kind of decides, like, who he acts angry to, like, depending on how much he likes him, though, which I guess is true for anybody that you meet for the most part.
Right.
But with him, it's one of those things where, for example, someone that had done something really bad in relation to him ends up joining his group later as an ally, and he absolutely hates their guts, and he just cannot get along with them no matter how many times everyone is like, hey, you need to chill and get along with him. He's like, no, fuck you. Like, that's just how he is. And that's another thing, he has a habit of saying a lot of curse words, so...
I think I'm gonna like Neil. I think he's gonna be my favorite character.
Fucking fuckatash.
He is
Fuck
very
you,
caring
fuck
deep
You
down. Though.
fucking loser. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he is very caring deep down, though. He pushes people away, like, when he first meets them, because all his life he's been followed by these deadly situations, which, when you really think about it realistically, that would really suck to have to worry about any person you come in contact with dying from a natural disaster, dying from some kind of freak accident. So... he's seen a lot of shit, let's be honest here. And because he's seen so much shit, he's tired of seeing shit. So he just kind of pushes everyone away. And so, yeah, he just... he tries to avoid people because of it. He cares about people, but he doesn't like making friends just because he's afraid that maybe something bad will happen to them. So... yeah, that's why he distances himself a lot. Like, he actually dropped out of high school because of this. He didn't go to college. He just kind of became a homebody. Afraid to leave the house for the most part.
Man. So, I know that you post, like, a lot of artwork on the Facebook page. And I just want to ask, like, how long does it usually take to make some of those drawings?
Oh, dear Lord. Well, it really depends on the picture. Sometimes, I guess in total, it would take close to a day. But there's times where I will be working on 3 or 4 different pictures at once because I have this problem where I can start on a picture and then I get really frustrated with one specific thing about it, where like I'll be coloring something and it's just not looking right, and I have to take a break from that specific picture and I'll work on a different picture. And so I have a whole bunch of CGs started and different sprites and stuff started up, and on my, I use Paint Tool Sci. I'll have them loaded up on Sci, and then I'll just kind of switch between them, and then eventually I'll get one done. And that's how it is with a lot of the stuff. I actually have a lot of incomplete CGs that I'm still working on, but they're like, some of them are actually very close to done, while others are not so close to done. But either way, is I get the art done. That's what matters. So I don't really know specifically how long it would take for one specific CG, but yeah, it just kind of depends on one, how motivated I am to get that specific CG done, because sometimes I will start a CG and I'll be like, this is going to be great, and I'll get through the whole thing in one day. But that's not very often. Usually I have to work on like 4 or 5 different CGs for weeks just to make sure that everything looks right. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so if it doesn't look right, I will spend hours staring at it and fixing it and
I completely understand, because that's the same way with with me as a musician, because I write all these songs. Well, I actually have a tub of song lyric books and everything like that. I just throw them into this tub, and whenever, I was just like, well, I got a lyric for this song somehow, write it down and everything like that, and then throw it away, and then a year later I come back to it.
Well, I don't
No,
take a year, but I completely understand that.
No, it's but
A few months later.
Literally, not to drive off of the subject here, but it's just I've been working on a song for almost a year and a half now, and just now I'm picking it back up.
I completely understand that.
So no worries, because we're both perfectionists in our areas of art. So I get you. Yes.
Sometimes it's a little
We're all
frustrating though,
perfectionists.
because if I just can't get something the way I want it to look, there will be times where I'll rage quit. There's times where I'll just have a moment where I'll be working on something, and if I just cannot get it right, I will put it down. I'll have a little moment of internal screaming first, but then I'll put it down and just not look at it for the rest of the day. So that's happened a couple times when I was coding, and oh geez, coding is that's a whole new thing. It's completely different, but also very time consuming and frustrating. So
I bet. Jeez.
In
Now,
fact,
since sorry.
what?
Go ahead.
In fact, just thinking about the coding, when I first went into this project, I had no knowledge of RenPy coding at all. So it was a learning process. I've got down most of the basics now, so it's pretty simple now. I actually figured out how to animate the sprites not too long ago, actually. But I remember the very first thing I tried to code in when I first started years ago was I tried to put music in the main menu, and it took me so long just to figure out how to get music to play in the main menu. And then once I figured it out, it took 2 weeks to figure out how to get the music to stop playing when you start the game, because the menu music would just go straight into the game when I'd press the play or whatever. It's no, that's not what I want. This needs to go away. And I figured out the only thing I needed to do to get the main menu music to stop, all I had to do was type in stop music before the script.
See, that's one thing I've
I was
kind of
pretty
always
bad.
wondered, how exactly that works with music in video games. How is it able to tell the point of where it needs to stop? But as you were talking about pictures on Facebook and everything, that kind of leads into my next question. And I've seen where some of your drawings come from reflections of your life. Now, how does that help give you the idea of just what you're wanting to draw?
Oh, well, most of the drawings, like CGs and stuff, I, of course, those have to do with whatever's going on in the story. So, but different parts of the story have certain influences, I guess, on different aspects of your life because, it's, I guess it's easier to write about things that you've kind of experienced, or at least about emotions. It may not be the exact same thing that happened, but you can draw from similar emotions for a certain topic. And I do use that a lot in writing and in art. Of course, the art kind of comes from the writing of it. But yeah, for example, okay, I don't want to give away a lot of spoilers, but there's a point where a character comes close to dying, and I've actually had a near death experience, so I kind of took the feelings from that and used it to kind of make uh, I guess, the emotion behind the character's thoughts more believable. Because I've noticed with a lot of stuff, it seems like people write, a character is in a near death experience, and it's just like, oh, I almost died. I'm completely fine now. But it's not always like that. Like, when you have a near death experience, let's be honest, that's some scary shit, okay?
Yeah, that no,
Oh,
that is
yes.
a pretty. No, I've had a couple of near-death experiences myself, so I know what you mean.
And the first thing I thought of when I had my little experience was, holy shit, I need to do something with my life. Like, if I had died then I would have really nothing to show for my life. And in a way, that's actually one of my main motivators in getting a project like this done. Like, I want to create something that people will enjoy, and I would like, like, just like to make something, And it would really suck if I don't get something made and just ended up laying down and dying.
Thank you for
So,
s- thank you for saying that because many people do not get that shit. No,
Oh, definitely.
many people don't get that shit because like like I tell people all the time just like, well, like make sure you like do something that makes that day on February 8th, 2017 at 9:07 p.m. memorable. Hey, we're interviewing our friend Cheyenne for our talk show. That's the most unique part of the day. There you go.
I couldn't agree with you guys more on that.
But I know what you mean. So
so yeah, it does kind of affect, like, in a way, I guess you could say it brings character development to the characters when things like that happen. So I do draw from certain emotions that I've had from those kind of situations and put them into characters as well. So, in a way, I guess you could say when a person goes through a situation like that, it's almost like a real life character development. And so I don't see why in a story you can't have character development either. Like, I don't know, there's just so many things I've seen where people have wrote situations where it should be a lot more emotional than they make it look.
right.
So it's like, give them some character development, that make them change some of their points of views, make them learn from their experiences, you know?
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure right now 99.9% of Americans are going through some kind of psychological character change because of our dear president
Oh geez.
Donald
Yeah.
It's gonna be a huge change, guys. It's gonna be so huge. Let me tell you, we're gonna change a lot of things. It's gonna be so great.
Gonna be great. Donald, get off the show, please.
No, I mean, no, it's like seriously, it's just like holy shit. Like I've never seen like I thought my friends were friends, but then it was just like holy shit. They're the
There's been
most
so many
biggest
times.
assholes ever. Holy shit. But anyways, we
It's
don't, we
pretty
don't want
crazy.
to.
I've seen people post some political stuff and like, oh man, so many fights have started. There's like hate on both sides in a way. Like it's, oh my gosh.
Hate on
It-
hate.
yeah, it's crazy.
We just need to get Neil down and just like take down. He can just like take down freaking Donald J. Trump. There you go.
Why am I
No,
imagining? Why am I imagining him getting angry
You
at that
no,
stuff?
you gotta if when you get done with Galactica Gamble, you gotta make like an OVA visual novel of Donald J. of Donald J. Trump getting his ass kicked by these characters.
I'm not gonna say that I do that, but I am gonna
Would
kind of
you?
laugh at that. But I'm
Uh,
not gonna like. I guess this is gonna sound really strange, maybe, but I don't really wish harm on anybody. Like I don't want anything
Same.
bad to
Well,
happen to
of
anybody.
course, of
Like,
course.
and I know it's all fun and jokes and stuff, but you never know with some people. Like, people will hear the littlest thing and they'll turn it around and make it into some big thing that you didn't even say. So
Right.
it's just
No,
one of those things where it's like,
like plot twist.
yeah, it's like I didn't say that, but everyone's gonna say I did. So
Right. So I want to ask you, Cheyenne, like what inspires you to do what you do?
well, like I kind of mentioned before, it is definitely one of those things where life is short. You know, I want to make something, and I want people to enjoy it. There's been times where I've gotten a couple messages from people, and they say that they're really looking forward to being able to, you know, read or play whatever you consider a visual novel like experience, because some people say it's reading, some people say it's playing, and I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah. No,
I want
like
people to enjoy it though. I know not everyone will, because that's just life. Not everyone likes the same things, and that's okay. But
right.
for for the most part though, I would like people to enjoy it. So, I'd like to be able to, I guess, make something that would inspire people, something that would actually have some kind of impact on people. Uh, just something that people can either enjoy or get a lesson from, or just, punch them in the feels, maybe.
Punch
All
them.
aboard the Feels Mobile.
uh, yeah, I will say there's definitely a lot of different stuff. I like writing humor stuff, but I also like very dark themed things as well. But then there's also times where I end up writing things that are just really sad and depressing. So, and that's also how life is. Life is very,
Yeah.
life has a lot of variety of stuff. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact genre for the visual novel, but I would say that it's definitely a science fantasy, and it definitely has darker themes to it, but you'll be able to see a variety of emotions. There will be times where some characters cracking a joke, and then there will be times where it's like everyone's crying and there's like emotional shit going down. So
And those are honestly some of the best scenes. Whenever
Yeah.
things get really emotional,
Just
because
like
that's what really. And Casey is going to agree with me on this. I definitely know. Um, it's what really pulls the viewers in, and it's
yeah.
what makes them really, especially if it's something that people have dealt with in real life before. It just makes that strong connection as to
Right.
what they're feeling right now, and you wish you could reach through the screen and hug them and say that everything is going to be okay. You wish you could do that, and that's
I
what
I
makes the feels moments so great.
I iOS 11.
iOS 11, because they already invented iOS 10, so I had to say iOS 11 now. All right, but
But
so
but like going with that though, just um like I remember like the original Full Metal Alchemist anime series. At the very end, it was just like it draws you in, and I understand like, like for me, I'm not trying to tie like both your project and the anime Fullmetal Alchemist in, but it's just like there's just like that similarity, and I'm really looking forward to like reading slash playing slash helping you in this project.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to read this.
I know.
So
I'm definitely excited. It is a long process though, since I do a lot of the stuff on my own, like the CG art, the sprites, the coding, the background art.
You
There's
just
a
gotta
lot of stuff
you
I've
just
done on
gotta
my
hire
own.
another person. You just gotta make a clone machine and clone yourself.
Okay, so here's now if I could make a clone, oh geez, that would be the best thing to ever happen in my life. But
make a Rok Abiel cyborg
Oh yeah.
android.
that would be amazing if I could just have a clone. But at the same time, it's like I can't really. I guess I could get another person into work if someone were interested in that. But one, I haven't really had anyone that's interested enough that also shows enough, I guess, motivation. Because it is kind of a bigger project. So because it's so
Right.
big, a lot of people are like, ooh, I don't have time for that, which is, that's okay. Some people don't have time for that. But um there's ups and downs to kind of working alone for the most part. I mean, there's voice actors, and I'm extremely grateful for the voice actors. They totally make the characters come alive. It's great. And, there's been people who have volunteered to do some music. So I'm extremely grateful for that too, because the only somewhat musical talent I have is singing. So I can't just.
Hey, you know what? You know a guitar player here. You can always call me,
who can sing too. Just kidding. We don't want.
but you
So-
you can always call me. So
Well, hey, if you're interested in doing guitar stuff, I would totally welcome that.
let's do it.
Because music is always welcome too. I only have at the moment like 4 different music tracks. So, I mean that's really not that much, to be honest. um uh where was I going with this? Oh yeah, working on my own for the most part is kind of tough. I will say there has been times where people have helped with like figuring out a certain code. Like uh my best friend, she's really good at helping me with that kind of stuff. If I can't figure something out, I could be like, "Hey, would you take a look at this and see what you get out of this, like on how to code this?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll look at it." And then she'll be like, "Yeah, this is how you do it." And that's extremely helpful. It saves me a lot of time because I'm one of those people that have a hard time learning through reading. I learn better by people showing me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I learn much faster that way. So I mean, I can learn by looking up stuff and reading stuff, but it sometimes it's just very frustrating. Um, but for one thing, working alone has its pros and cons. The cons are, of course, time and all the workload. It's a lot of work for just one person, and that's why this is pretty much going on like my 3rd year of working on this. For the entire thing, like the whole concept and story and everything, it's been close to 8 years now. But for actually working on the visual novel itself, like in a visual novel form, it's getting close to 3 years now. And I mean, it's 14 chapters long. It has 6 endings. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So that's a lot to code, a lot to draw. And there's some stuff that I actually don't like drawing, but I'll do it anyway. Like background art. Background art, I hate it so much. And it's mostly because when I was in school, I was pretty much told to do a bunch of landscape stuff, and I did a lot of landscapes, and I just started to hate it. Hate it with a passion, but I will still do it for this project. But
Now, my final question that I want to ask you, and then Casey is going to be asking the last question of the night. But I know you were talking about it earlier with friends, sort of setting an influence to these characters. But who are some of your inspirations throughout this project? Like, who have been some of the people in your life that have had an impact on this? Besides, I mean, not just like friends, but you know what I mean.
Well, I'd have to say one of my biggest inspirations is probably my cousin. And I don't want to get too sappy in this interview thing, but my cousin, I used to look up to him like a lot, okay? Like a lot. He was like the person that I thought I wanted to be when I grew up. Like he's the one that got me into watching anime and just, video games, all the cool stuff. He was the one that kind of influenced that. But when I was 11, he actually passed away. And I remember when I was young, I always wanted to make something that he would enjoy, like a comic or something like that. I always thought, it'd be cool if I made something that he would enjoy because he was very creative in making AMVs and stuff. And so I just thought, oh, it'd be cool to do something creative that he would like. And I never really got to do that, but it's still a motivational thing even now. Like I still want to make something that I would hope that he would like. So he's definitely one of the inspirations. Like I was interested in anime and things like that at such a young age because of him. So even though he's no longer around, like he still influences a lot of my motivation to do this kind of stuff. But also, during around some hard times in my life, I started watching different anime and stuff, and there's a popular mangaka or manga creator, whatever, named Nobuhiro Watsuki. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so.
He I guess you could say he's the one responsible for making Buso Renkin and Rurouni Kenshin.
I
God,
gotcha.
yes.
I
Yeah.
gotcha.
That sounded so familiar. Oh.
I was really inspired by his works too, because a lot of his stuff, like, it'll have a certain theme to it, but I remember feeling so many different emotions while, getting into the stuff that he's created. And I always thought I would love to do that too. So I guess you could say I'm kind of inspired by him as well. Even though he's not like family or someone in my life, but that is, I guess, something to point out.
Well, I mean, like, like that has influenced you to go this far and to go even, even further and beyond to infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
So to say, sorry, I work, me, I work at a school and everything like that, and
Yeah.
we watched like Toy Story today. How could you
Aw.
not say that? But, just like, no, I get it, just like lately with me, like my dad passed away like a year ago, and me and him were not, we were not too close, but I think that's just because of what society portrays of men, like we're supposed to be very independent and everything like that. Well, my dad has been like the biggest inspiration for me to pick up music or pick up guitar, so I completely get that, and I like totally respect and admire you going so far with this project. And just like knowing that, I think like for me, just I'm really looking forward to this. I really am. um but my question for you is, who or what are the things that inspired you to become an artist?
Oh, geez. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I've just kind of always been into art. Like, even when I was really little, my mom still has some of my really old drawings from when I was like 3. So, uh, yeah, it's just been kind of something I've always done. And I don't know. It's just,
It just came natural to you.
it just kind of came natural. Yeah, I just kind of picked up a pencil and started drawing. I
Sounds
will
like
say
me.
though that my interest in drawing certain things has changed over time. My my very first thing that I was really interested in drawing was vehicles, like cars.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I don't know why. And it wasn't like I was good at it, okay? So I'm not saying that. Like, I was like 4 years old drawing a car that looked like a circle with other circles. And I don't know why I was into drawing cars so much, but I was. And then that somehow evolved into drawing a lot of animals. So I'd draw my favorite animals, or I'd draw a cat or a dog or whatever. But I started drawing anime characters right around the time I was 11. I'd say around there, maybe 10, but I definitely didn't get into it as much until I was 11. So yeah, it's kind of evolved over time. I didn't have the confidence to try anime characters until I was 11. So, yeah, it's just kind of changed over time. And of course, once I was in middle school, and I mean, I had art classes in elementary, but those are not really like the art classes that are in, higher grades or whatever. But
Yeah.
with with middle school, I remember I got into the art classes in there, and a lot of the stuff in there was still life and animals, things like that, and that was okay. And high school was pretty much the same thing. A lot of still life, some landscape pictures, and occasionally we'd have to draw realistic people, and that was okay with me. I can do realistic people. I don't necessarily like it, but I can do it. Uh, so there's that, and of course, you always get that teacher that's like, anime isn't art, and so they're like, you can't draw anime in this art class. So that's kind of how all my art classes went as well. Even in college, it was kind of
Just
like
be
that.
like, excuse me, teach?
Yeah, even college was like that. And I can understand that for college courses, actually. I can understand why they'd be like, no, focus on, realistic stuff, or focus on abstract, or focus on, certain things, because certain classes require certain things. And when I was in college, the only class that I was actually able to draw anime for was my graphic design class. Everything else had to be realistic, and that was okay. But it's just one of those things where I will say I've gained, a better understanding of art through those classes, and I'm very thankful for, being able to have those classes and, experience that kind of stuff and learn. But as for anime art, a lot of that was self-taught because I mean, I didn't really have anyone showing me, okay, this is how you draw anime hair. It was more of like, okay, here's a character I really like from this show. I'm going to try and draw them. So I it was very separate. Like, I wasn't able to do anime stuff with my other art classes, but I still learned so much from those art classes. So yeah, I guess that's kind of just how I got into the whole art thing. Just always had that interest in it. The art classes helped, and you know, I was inspired by looking at anime, so like, oh, I just want to draw these characters.
It's like I want to draw them so bad. But Rok Abiel, I want to thank you for taking the time to hop on here this evening and giving us the opportunity to help spread the word about this amazing project that you're working on. And guys, if you do want to help out with this project whatsoever, be an additional voice or just have a voice in it whatsoever, if you have a decent mic, just get in contact with either me or Casey, or you can go to the Galaktika Gamble page on Facebook.
Which is facebook.com/Galactica, GAOAKTIKA, Gamble, and just like the Facebook page, and then send a message, because Facebook pages, you can send messages, so you can do that.
I
In
will
fact,
say just now that there's also a Tumblr page.
Ooh,
So
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
I just thought I'd point that out as well, because the Tumblr page, I guess, is a little bit more organized because I can actually like add pages or, things like that. Whereas with Facebook, it's like, okay, you have your photo section, you have your posts, it works a little different. But the
Well, yeah, because like Tumblr, you can post art and everything on as well, which is pretty neat.
yeah, so there is a Tumblr page, which is just galactikagamble.tumblr.com. So there is that as well. And there's so much more information that you can actually find on the Facebook page and, the Tumblr page, things like that. Because, I mean, there's a lot that can be said, but not a lot of time to say them. So if you're really interested, there's a lot of stuff you can check out. The notes section in Facebook, I've heard that on the phone you can't really find the notes section for some reason. I've had a
No,
couple
you can't.
complaints about that. You can now? Okay. I just
No,
wasn't
you
sure
can't.
because
I haven't been able to
you
find
can't?
it.
Okay, because okay. Yeah. I've had some complaints about that, like people saying they can't find the page where the notes are. But if you're on I guess if you're on Facebook on the computer, there should be a little tab on Facebook that says notes, and that'll have info on pretty much the story, on the stellars. It'll have info on age rating. uh, there's not a specific age rating, but I will say that this does have a lot of darker themes, and it does have gore. I will say that right now. It's going to have gore.
Ooh.
So if you're
Ooh.
It's gonna have gore.
Ooh.
yeah, so
Ow.
if you're
Ow,
into gore
gore.
stuff, that's okay. But if you're not into gore stuff, then you might want to not read it. I don't know. Everyone's into different things, and that's okay. But yeah.
You know what? She's gonna have gore.
Yeah,
Ow.
and when I say gore, I mean like there's organs and blood and just yeah.
But not
Exposed
Basically
bones.
on the scale of the bunny human blender.
Well, there is actually a preview of a CG that has gore in it. There's a preview of it on both the Tumblr and the Facebook. So if anyone's really interested in the type of gore I'm talking about, it's on there. You just gotta look for it. But yeah. So
Hey.
the notes might not pop up on the mobile, but it should be able to pop up on the computer. And if it doesn't pop up on mobile, it's still okay because the Tumblr has the different pages, and I have them all in like a post of the different pages for it in that Tumblr thing. So, if you're on mobile and you can't find it, just go to the Tumblr and it'll have links to the different info stuff on it. So.
All right, guys. Well, go check out the Tumblr page for Galactika Gamble. Also, check out the Facebook page. Go like it. We're going to share it to the Real Talk Radio page so that way you guys can go click on it and like the Galactika Gamble page. And if you are wondering how to spell Galactika Gamble, it is going to be in the title of this episode of Real Talk Radio. Again, Rok Abiel, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your evening, for hopping on here and letting us getting the chance to interview you. And so what we're going to be doing right now, guys, is we're going to be taking a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll be back with more on Real Talk Radio.
Talk Radio.